Hello, everyone. Welcome back to season 4. I'm excited. You know, family, that I have vetted our guests. You know, we don't bring anybody on here so mess. Okay. We are only looking for people that are about education. And I have an amazing educator. Just first of all, I'm gonna say this. He from East St. Louis. So y'all already know they coming with
already
it.
know.
They already know. So, sir, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and tell us, you know, what makes you you.
Yep. And so I am Ian Buchanan, Dr. Ian Buchanan. I am a grandson. I am a son. I am a husband. I am a father. I am a big uncle. And I am a person who is committed to Black and Brown students. And I think that's who I am. I've been an educator for, believe it or not, my first teaching assignment was in 1995 at a high school. I was about 7 and my kids were 18. So I first started teaching at the high school level. So I've been in education now since 1995. Yep.
Okay, so 1995, I'm gonna tell my age. I was at Hampton University, the Hampton Institute University in Hampton, Virginia. The best HBCU ever, there was ever.
HU?
Okay, wait.
That's the wrong one.
Yes, that's Howard. He disqualified y'all. We're gonna start over. No,
my daughter went to Alabama A&M, so I'm still
there it is. There it is. And it's all HBCU love, so it doesn't matter which one you go to.
That's right.
We just like for you to attend. But okay, so 1995, you started high school. Why high school?
Well, so what happened is, as an undergrad, I was an engineering major. And during my 4th year, I call it my 5th year, my super senior year as an engineer, my fraternity had an opportunity to tutor a group of middle school boys at a local middle school. And I just fell in love with teaching and education. And so because I had taken so many upper level math classes as an engineer, high school mathematics was the logical transition coming right out of an engineering program to go into a school of education. So that's why high school. And I loved being a high school teacher. I would say that was probably my favorite administration job outside of being an elementary principal. That's the job that I love the absolute most.
Okay, so this is the question that popped in my head because we're Black Americans.
That's right.
How did that conversation go with, I am no longer going to be an engineer. I am now going into because look, my mom was a teacher. I come from a family of educators. How did that, how was it received? You don't have to tell me the whole conversation, but how was that really received? Because it could go either way, depending.
Yeah. At the time, I really didn't care how it was received because
there it is.
Because at that time I was really evolving in my Black consciousness. And so I had just read this book called Black Awakening in Capitalist America. And it talked about the fact that the United States basically wanted to transform Black power to green power. And one of the ways that they did that was by getting all of these kind of activist potential people to go into corporate jobs. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I am going to be part of this quote unquote revolution, and I'm going to do it through education. So my parents are Muslims, so they already had a radical mind frame or mind state, revolutionary mind state anyway. So, it was a little bit crazy because obviously I'm throwing away, engineering makes quite a bit more money than a teacher would, but people already know I'm crazy, and so they just like, that's Ian, that's what he does.
I love it. Okay, so there because I was sitting here like, how? Because I was a nursing major, and I remember Hampton University nursing major. Yes. Woke up one morning and said, I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
When it changed my major, but my parents laughed because they both knew I should have been in education. Yeah. And all they said was, we are so glad you did not waste our money at Hampton because this is a private school. We spend right. And I was like, y'all knew, and they were like, yeah, but we were trying to, allow you to find yourself.
Yeah.
Find your way. So you said something that was interesting to me. Your fraternity.
Yes.
And we all know the Divine Nine is huge about volunteering and giving back to the community.
That's right.
That's one of the reasons I'm a Divine Nine member, I'm an AKA, and that's huge to us. Like, we're going to give back We're going to talk about voting rights. We're going to talk about everything that's essential and needed for the Black community to progress.
That's right.
So you went, I love this story. You went and said, okay, yes, brothers, we're going to go volunteer, and something snatched your soul at that moment.
It was 4 Black boys that just touched my soul and actually changed my life. And so I decided to be a teacher. I graduated from Mizzou with an engineering degree in May, started grad school in June. And in about a year and a half, I was in teaching pre-calc.
Bless you for teaching pre-calc. I'm trying to think that I stopped at trigonometry. Praise God. I had all of the credits I needed. And my trigonometry, Miss Hicks, shout out to you, Miss Nancy.
Hilarious. What's up, Miss Hicks?
Miss Hicks, it was 3 of us that had to take the trig exam. It was like 50 questions. She was like, and I said to her, I gotta get a C because Hampton already accepted me.
Yes, I just need a C. Hey, please.
Coming from a small rural town, I knew she had gone to college with my mama and my god, and her kids have been raised like, I know
Hilarious.
you know me.
Come on now.
I'm an honest student. I'm good. I'm a cheerleader.
Hilarious.
And Miss Hicks, I know you passed me. I know you did.
Hilarious. That's so funny.
I always think of math teacher because that's not my specialty. I realized in 3rd grade, if I said I had a headache, I could get out of math hour until my mama came up there with that belt.
You're not right.
Like, I don't think her butt about to hurt in a minute because that girl don't have no headache. She lied.
Hilarious. I ain't never had a headache.
No, never. Nothing's wrong with this little girl. She hungry all the time. Yeah. But ain't nothing wrong with her. Hilarious. So all right. So I love that story. So we went there.
Mm-hmm.
Still have your engineering degree. So people were still happy in your family.
Yes. My grandmother was happy to see me, walk across the stage. As they say, I completed the assignment. I could have, switched. And I had a really tough time in the School of Engineering because I was grossly underprepared. I didn't know that at the time, but I was grossly underprepared for the rigors. And, I was one of the first Blacks to graduate from the industrial engineering program at Mizzou. So you can imagine a lot of the racial turmoil and a lot of the psychological things that come our way, like imposter syndrome and those kinds of things. So it was very rough. It was very traumatic. Yeah.
Wow. Now you went to grad school at Mizzou?
So I did not go to grad. So I got my doctorate from Mizzou. I got my undergrad in engineering from Mizzou, and then I got my doctorate from Mizzou.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's another topic. I'm gonna bring you back for another discussion about PWI, HBCU, and just the different, because it's everything is still rough. Like me getting to Hampton, and I was like, oh, all of us are smart.
Yeah.
Oh, all of us the cream of the crop. Let me go to the library and study.
Yeah.
So it was a rude awakening in a different way.
Yeah, I think the rude awakening for me, so I will say this, there were 5 of us that went there together, all from my high school graduating class. So we did have an inner core. Yes. But I think the most shocking thing is to walk into an engineering physics class or Calc 1 class, and it's 300 people, and it's like 5 Black people in the whole space. And so me coming from East St. Louis, and we had like 0 white students in our high school, to go into a place where Mizzou was like 3.9% Black at the time. So it was a very, very, very big culture shock, So yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have to get you to come back because we want to discuss it, but we also still want to continue to prepare our students to be able to walk into any room.
Absolutely right. And to be very honest, that's why I would not let my daughter go to a PWI. I told her, I said, you got a whole lot of choices. They're all called HBCU.
Now, is this she attend one or she get ready to go?
So my daughter graduated from Alabama A&M.
That's right.
And then she transitioned to Georgia State University for grad school to work under Dr. Goldie Muhammad. She was actually Dr. Goldie Muhammad's teacher assistant.
Yes, sister. Yes. Here's my next question.
Yep.
Here at the Education Concierge podcast, we coordinate all aspects of education. Why did you decide, and we're going to go back through your history, but we know why you decided to go into education, but why did you decide now to become an entrepreneur, an edupreneur, to come out of the quote unquote class from a schoolhouse and to then work from the outside in?
Yeah, I wanted to have more leverage and more control and more direct impact on our leaders, especially our Black and brown leaders. And so now what this entrepreneurship does, it allows me a different level of agency, and it allows me to widen my impact. When I was assistant superintendent / chief academic officer in University City, which is a suburb of St. Louis, I could only engage 2,700 kids. I could only impact 2,700 kids. Now I'm able to impact tens of thousands of kids with the work that I do because of the leaders that I touch. And so that was one of the reasons I made it. Also, I've been in this game since 1995. I was a principal for 11 years. I was a central office leader for about 7 or 8. I'm the OG now. And so now it's time for me to cultivate, nurture the next generation. I always look around and say, who got next? And so what I did is I identified about 11 Black and brown principals in the St. Louis region, either practicing or promising. And I said, you know what? I'm going to invest 20 hours, 30 hours into you over the course of this year, and I'm going to be your executive leadership coach. And so that's one of the big components of what I do. I'm a trained, certified executive leadership coach. I spent about 200 hours training over the last academic year. That's just the training part. And so I wanted to make sure that our Black and brown leaders had the top leadership coaching, because everybody deserves a coach. And so many times our Black and brown leaders don't get it, especially during this time, because a coach is not about goal setting. A coach is about you being a well-balanced person. We focus on the doing and we focus on the being. You're not called a human doing, you're called a human being. And so in coaching, we help you to be as well as to do. So I'm super passionate about the coaching and development. And I'm excited to say, again, I coach around maybe like 15 Black men right about now. And I coach maybe 6 or 7 sisters, including a couple CEOs in Memphis, as a matter of fact.
I love it. So if those of you who are faithful listeners to the podcast, I believe in a coach.
Yeah.
I believe in, if I'm trying to work out, which I just hired a coach now, you need a fitness coach. Y'all might say, oh, it's just a fitness person, whatever. They coaching me through. A financial coach. If I'm trying to get my finances straight, they need to come in, coach me through that. A business coach, and I love executive coaches who are specific to what I'm doing. So I'm not going to go get an executive coach for sports. I'm not a sports person.
Right.
I'm gonna get an executive coach for being an entrepreneur, being a businesswoman, being an educator. So thank you for saying that everybody needs a coach. Everybody deserves a coach. Right. And then the concept of coaching, because I think people get scared, but I look at it and you said it's an investment in me. Really I have to become better.
Yeah. And it really does help you take a look in the mirror. It helps you take a look at your strengths. I really help people look at what we call the saboteurs, all of those voices in your ear, especially us being Black and brown, especially many folks who may be on the LGBTQ continuum, women. Anybody that's in that kind of non-dominant group especially needs coaching and support,
Yes. Yeah. And so, so then my question to you is, and you are OG, and I feel like I feel like I'm right behind you. So I feel like I'm just becoming an OG, even though at work, I feel like, because they were like, oh my God, I graduated so long ago. And I'm like, when did you graduate? They were like, 2018.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. And then like, when did you graduate? 1998?
I know, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm confused about how you're, okay, anyway. But as you become an authority, you are the guru to go to. Mm-hmm. How do you, is there ever a spot where you're like, I can't coach you?
I think when there's an issue that is, because coaching is not designed to solve your problems. Right.
It makes you question some more stuff. I feel like it pulls up more problems and then we go through them.
Yeah. So the only time I would say that I would turn someone down is if they were extremely racist, extremely prejudiced, extremely homophobic, or if I thought that they needed medical attention.
Gotcha.
I.e. maybe a psychiatrist, certified therapist, someone like that. And that's what we're trained to do as coaches, to say, you know what, this is beyond my capacity. I would encourage you to seek other supports.
That makes sense. Okay, I love it. Now, so tell me, we're going to dig deep into your company now. So I'm going to use myself as an example because I just feel like I might need some coaching. I'm here. This is my 24th year ending in education. I am ready to get out of the classroom. It is time to do something else. I have the podcast. I love this podcast. It's not going anywhere. I have my company, Global Education Concierge, and I'm like, look, I just can't figure out what I want to do or where I want to go. Everybody's going to ed tech.
Yep.
And I work with some ed tech companies. I've always worked with some startup ed tech companies just because some people I met on LinkedIn, they pay me. I review some stuff. We go from there. So I say, hey, Ian, I'm just kind of, I feel like I know how to swim, but I'm on the edge of the pool.
Yep.
Trying to figure out if I'm gonna jump in.
Yep.
Why would I come to you?
Yeah, why would you come to me? You would come to me because I am really going to help you do a couple things. First and foremost, I'm going to help you get clear about your current reality, and that's your professional reality and your personal reality. I'm going to really help you think about what's important to you. We're going to do what we call building resonance. Building resonance means we help you understand your strengths, your life purpose, your goals, and your values. And it's almost like building muscle. So the first thing we do is help you gauge current reality, then we help you build muscle. And once we help you build muscle and build what we call resonance, then you're able to more clearly and more effectively make decisions that impact your personal and professional life. And so what I help you do is give you the space and the time, and I have the techniques and the strategies to help you realize where you want to go, or at the very least, to have some real deliberate thinking and conversations. And I give homework. I'm a teacher forever. So I give homework and we give assignments. But what you'll find is that the work that I do is transformational because it speaks to the emotional intelligence side of us. Obviously, we hit goals and we do that kind of stuff, but it really is about helping you in the being and the doing. And we try to put those two together.
And you said something important. So I want to go back. So I've been Black all my life. I know some people are like, really? How do you see, so the debate is always going to be, should we teach Black and brown students differently? Do you see it? Do we need coaching differently as educators, as professionals, or is it something that you said, do we have to dig a little deeper and really look at our emotional intelligence and look at our, I hate the word perseverance, but look at all of those things differently to get us to the next level? Is it the same, or is it, or because I feel like, I mean, you know, dance is dance, but there's ballet, there's tap, and there's jazz.
Yeah, right. I would just say it like this. You know, before we jumped on the call, we were talking about Ja Morant.
Yes.
Right. And you think about basketball, the origination of basketball with Naismith and the Peach Bucket. And you think about maybe some of the ways that basketball was played in like the 70s, early 80s. We come in and we add a new flavor. We add a different cultural element to whatever we do. And so even as a coach, obviously I add a different cultural connection, and people are willing to be a little bit more vulnerable with me because first and foremost, they know I'm judgmental. And they also have an assumption that I've walked some of the walk that they've walked. And so I do think that connection matters, but I also say that it doesn't necessarily have to be a Black person coaching a Black person or a woman coaching a woman. I don't know that necessarily needs to be the case. What I think is people need to actually, because like teaching, like medicine, like any other sport, any other occupation, there's a science to this, to coaching.
Yes.
And like I said, I've spent over the last year or so, I've spent 150, 200 hours strictly doing the learning. So strictly being a learner and working on different coaching certifications. And I use two of the top coaching methodologies in the world.
I love it. Okay. Your GPA was as low as a 1.6.
Yeah, man.
At one time.
Yeah.
I remember being put on academic probation at Hampton my freshman year. I was partying. It was freshman year. And I called my sister, who also had gone to Hampton, but was an honor student. We're the same, but we're not. Girl, what do I need to do? She said, stop partying. I said, oh. She said, limit. You ain't got to go to all of the parties.
Yeah.
Go to the good ones. And I said,
hilarious.
Okay. So you had
what she was trying to say is you just need to go to the Kappa parties. I think that's what she was trying to tell you. She's just like, go to the Kappa parties, maybe. That's what I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe she was saying avoid the Kappa parties.
I think that's what she was telling me.
That might be the problem.
I probably was going into me. So 1.6, how do you, because I know what I did. Like I literally just, I just reminded myself of who I was. Like, girl, this has been your dream college since 6th grade.
Yep.
You know what you did to get here.
Yep.
What you need to do to stay. But what did you tell yourself and your circle? How did they support you?
So this is the thing, now we are reading, a lot of educators are reading this opportunity myth research. And so what this body of research says is that typically Black and brown students, especially those from low income communities, do all of the right things in high school and K-12 education. They study, they get the good grades, they get the A's on the refrigerator, they have these high GPAs when they walk out. However, when they come against the rigors of college, they are woefully underprepared. And I was the opportunity myth before the opportunity myth happened. And so at my high school, we didn't have calculus. Everything that I learned in chemistry and physics in high school, I learned about the first week of engineering, physics, and chemistry at Mizzou. And so once I got past some of those easier classes, first and second year, then the world got super difficult for me.
Okay.
And so that's when I went from a 3.6 to a 3.0 to a 2.0 to a 1.8 to a 1.6 to a 1.6. And so what started to happen is the courses got extremely difficult. I was over my head. And then also it was that whole thing about, do I belong here? Mm-hmm. Is this a place for me? So all of those feelings of inferiority, being less than, imposter syndrome. There's another one called duck syndrome, which is where kids, act like everything is going good, but in the inside they're imploding. So my mom would call and say, baby, how things going? My grandmother would call and I would act like things were all good and they were not. And so, and honestly, that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to be a chief academic officer. The last role that I was in is because I wanted to make sure that kids who look like me actually were really prepared and not fake prepared to thrive. I came out of high school most likely to succeed. And so it was a lot of pressure on me, coming out of my town, to succeed. And so it got really challenging. It got really challenging for me, but we here, baby.
And I think that's important because I think I know we hear all the time about the athletes and this pressure to succeed, and then they do, and then the pressure of taking care of everybody. But we also forget academically, like I have students who've said to me, like, I have to keep my grades up. Yep. I have to get a scholarship to somewhere because I have to take care of my family. And I teach middle school. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's already there. So I'm glad you said that part where the academic part, you still have that pressure of being top, of saying, okay, I'm most likely to succeed. Now I have to be successful. Yeah. I want to, shine for my family, but I want to be able to give back and take care of my family and back home. Yeah. I have to perform, but I don't know how, I don't know what's happening because I did this here and I'm here and I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. And there were so many things that I realized. So I'm reading a book, or I'm actually listening to some YouTube videos from Dr. Vanessa Siddle Walker. And she talks about the genius of Black education and Black education leadership. And she talks about one of the things that we do, and you can relate to this as a Hampton grad, is we help us believe in us.
Yes.
And so even though it wasn't anybody's fault in my community, I didn't necessarily get the best academic preparation. Aspirationally, I believe I could run through a brick wall. And there was nothing that I could not do because that was embedded in me by Mr. Elliot McKinney, my elementary principal, who told me that I was not the best, the very best. He told us that every day from the time I was in the first grade to the 6th grade. So can you imagine what you believe about yourself? And so when those white folks were giving me them 1.6s and them 1.8s, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna still make a way and I am going to graduate. And I was able to graduate, not with high GPA, I will say, but I was able to complete the assignment. I was able to finish the assignment, and I was able to take my degree home to my family and to my community.
Amen. Shout out to your principal, because I still can't get people to understand the power of words and the power of words from someone that looks like you.
Oh man. I wanted to be him. It was so interesting because when I became an elementary principal, I was like, I'm gonna be Elliot McKinney. I'm gonna be Mr. Elliot McKinney. That's who I am. And my goal was to create an institution in this small community in just the way that he did.
Love
and so
it.
my kids know, if I see a kid in the grocery store right now, if I walk behind them and say, not the best, automatically they better say the very best. They already know because I put that into him. I put that in them.
And it is important. I was thinking about that the other day, and I texted my girlfriends from Hampton, and all I texted was good, better, best. And then all of them text back, never let it rest.
Exactly.
So your good is better, and your better is your best. And that's what we know. Like it's embedded in us, like you said, from when you said first grade to sixth grade.
Yep.
And then you turned around and said, okay, now it's my turn. It's my turn.
Yep.
And so then I believe that is where it has led you today. Because I'm listening to your story, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it all lines up. So now you come back around. So here's my follow-up question to that is, and this is my favorite word. I did not hear this word till I was a grown woman. Nelson Mandela's funeral. Ubuntu.
Yep.
Tell us what it means to you. Tell us what it means, and then tell us why is it significant to not just your life, but your practice, your business.
Yeah. So it means so many things. Couple different things. Interdependency.
Yes.
I am because we are. Dr. King talks about that we are all tied in this inescapable, et cetera, et cetera. It means that my success really means very little without the group success. And I think that Western society has taught us to be all about the individual. I got to get mine, you got to get yours. And we need to rethink, and we need to drop that way of thinking into the trash, the recycle bin. Yeah. And so for me, it's a reminder to me that think about all of the people that invested in you growing up from my community. Think about your grandmother who was involved in the East St. Louis race riots and never believing that she'd have a grandson who could, achieve in this way. And so I think it's just a connectedness and a responsibility and that you haven't made it until all of us have made it. Yeah.
We're going to wrap this up. Give me 3 things that you would say to a educator. And either you can pick a new educator, you can pick an educator like me who's like, look, I'm burned out. I think that's what it is. Like I've been thinking about it, and I was like, I love education. I'm like, I'm not leaving education. It's time to leave the classroom.
Yes.
But what would be this is y'all freebie. Everything else y'all got to pay for. Y'all know who I am.
Hilarious.
I'm gonna put his information down here. You need a coach. We're gonna pay. We're not asking for discount. No, there's no discount. Just tell him you heard him here.
Yep.
And he's gonna say, good, here is your invoice, and you're gonna pay it. Okay.
And as we know, because Fat Joe told us.
So we're gonna pay because we're gonna invest. Right. We're investing. So what would be 3 things? And you can either do a seasoned teacher like me. I'm ready to lead the classroom, or our new teachers. And I love y'all. I love the new teachers. Thank you for coming. But I need you to stay.
That's right. And so your question to me is, what would I say to encourage them to?
Yes.
To stay? I will first ask questions about what is your life purpose? What are you really here to do? Because that's the big picture. Because we all want fulfillment, we all want balance, we all want wholeness. And so we want to try to find the things in our work that give us joy, that give us balance, that make us feel whole, that make us feel fulfilled. And so I think part of it will be, what is your life purpose? What are you here to do? And how does this work align with your life purpose? And then I would probably talk about and help the client see his or her strengths and values, and to figure out what parts of the job connect with your values and your strengths and what parts don't. I might even ask that, we do a lot of visioning and imagining and embodiment. I would even maybe ask that person to even embody or envision what a great day or a great school year would look like. And then one of the things I would probably do is what we call, we talk about saboteurs. And so saboteurs are all of the ways that we stand in our own way. So we will go really deep around what are the attitudes, the behaviors, the mindsets, the untested assumptions that you have that are actually self-limiting. And so that's when you get really deep and people really start to take a really hard look in the mirror and start to say, yeah, some of this is systematic. We understand racism. We understand all of that is real. But some of that is also Ian Buchanan telling himself stories that may or may not be true.
Come on now.
Yeah. And so I think that's part of what I would say.
Oh my goodness. So then I'm sitting here listening, and a part of me is like, I need that to be a class.
Yes.
In the university before we exit out. So let me know how you're gonna do that so I can come in and teach. And we can do all of the colleges. Yeah. There's 5 right here, 6, 8 between Memphis and St. Louis is like 10.
Exactly, yeah.
Program, because I'm sitting here like that is, and I don't think it's just for education. I think that's just in general life. Like you're coaching, and it's like you coaching the whole child. You're coaching the whole person.
That we really are. We always say coach the person and not the topic. We always say coach the person and not the topic. We don't get caught up in it. My wife asks me all the time, she's like, all of these stories, how do you not get caught up in them? How do you not let your emotions get to you? I say, it's like a doctor. You have to focus on being a supporter, a provider. And we do what we call deepen the learning and forward in the action. That's our job. What are you learning from this? How does it resonate with who you are not? And so that's kind of deepening the learning and then forward in the action. So what's possible for you now? What are you doing next? What does your strategy look like? What happens when you start to hit these roadblocks? How is the saboteur going to pop in your head and say, all right, Benita, you're the only sister in this room with all these middle-aged white men. Don't say anything. We know today that maybe you might not have this or you might not have that, or maybe your diction is not right, or you got to use upspeak when you get in this room. You got all of these different things that.
Okay, girls, this is what it is. But I'm glad you said that, because it's in your mind. The battlefield is in your mind.
Oh yeah. And Beverly Tatum talks about, we're all smog breathers. So if you're in an environment where there's smog, you can only hold your breath for so long. Eventually, everybody consumes the smog. And so we've all consumed this smog of white supremacy and racism. And so that's why Black folks have internalized depression. That's why we look at each other like, or we are so judgmental of each other. It's not our fault. It's how we've been socialized. And we can't change systems until we change mental models. Those of us who know systems change, we understand that the mental models are the foundation of change. And so that's why white supremacy ideology exists and can sustain, because it's these mental models that say, they less than us. They're not as good as us. That's what they're saying about us. And then we start to say, yeah, look at them N-words. Look at them how they acting. Look at their pants down. Look at them sagging. Look at them bonnets. Look at them house shoes. And we start to be hypercritical of us.
The new segment for season 4 is the called the controversy corner.
Let's do it.
We're having conversations, and the controversy corner, you started speaking about it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you must have seen my notes, because that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, and I've heard you speak somewhere else before, and I know you know this topic well. How should we handle the criminalization of the middle school Black and brown students over simple things? Because you said something, the other day I had a situation and the student came to my door, because I'm a door greeter.
Yeah.
And she had a bonnet on. I said, oh my goodness, honey, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
I'm gonna give you time, get yourself situated. Do you need to take one of your girlfriends with you? Do you have your phone? Like, what do you need? She was like, the other teacher, I said, oh my goodness, hey, Miss Gordon, for Club 404, because that's what we call it. In this club, I'm the bouncer, and in my club, there are no bonnets. You know that. No bonnets in the club, baby.
Hilarious.
Do you need to go take your friend, girl, to the bathroom and handle that because you have time? Like, I'm not going to mark you tardy. I'm going to leave the door open. You're good. So she looked me up and down. She said, well, I'm not coming to class. I said, well, everyone has choices in America and we have consequences.
You are wild for that, boy. Your sarcasm is a perfect match for middle school. I will say that. It's a perfect
match. I love it. And they know, like, and the door's open. I'm never going to stand in your way. Because in America, I don't have to stand in the way. Somebody's going to catch you. I'm going to put an APB out on you. Student decided the consequence today. She chose nonviolence, but she still walked out. Like,
hilarious. So I say a couple things. One is I love all students, but them 7th grade girls, that's a whole different world.
They're my babies. Don't talk about my babies.
Oh my God, yeah. And see, I'm an old school dad, so I don't like attitude. I don't like talking back. I don't even like lip gloss. So yeah. Oh,
you old school for real? Look, they still be using the Vaseline too. They still be using the Vaseline.
When I was a middle school principal, I used to keep tissue in my pocket because, and now this was several years ago, because in the 1900s, glazed donut lips in the
1900s, you can do that. Because if you had too much makeup on in my classroom, you did get a wipe. Yes, sir.
Yes, exactly. But to speak to your question directly, and so Dr. Shiraki Holly is a colleague of mine. He's done extensive work, and he talks about this concept of vabbing. Vabbing means validate, affirm, build a bridge. And so when we think about what we call cultural behaviors versus like inappropriate behaviors, a bonnet is a cultural thing. You know, so we don't demonize and we don't penalize people for cultural things.
Right.
What we do is we validate who they are first, and then we build a bridge to what Dr. Holly calls DMV behaviors. And what he means by that is, at the DMV, everybody has the same standards.
I love it.
Right? And so we validate and affirm who they are. Right. And then we try to build a bridge to those more culturally appropriate, situationally appropriate behaviors, because we don't want to give either one a greater or lesser value, because my bonnet has value in some places.
It does.
And see, that's the thing about it. Like, we don't really, and Terry Yoso calls it, I think she calls it community cultural capital. And there are like 7 different pieces of capital that Black and brown kids bring to the table, you know? And one of the things that I learned growing up was aspirational capital. That's one of the pieces of capital. Aspirational capital means I'm gonna run through a brick wall, but I'm getting mine.
Yes. Wow, because I was a dean. I've been a dean before, and I've had some conversations with educators about disrespect.
Right, exactly.
And one, I think it is, I love what you said, and I'm gonna get some more information. I'm gonna go read community cultural capital, because that is part of it. But it's also something I teach in it's not in my curriculum, it's not in my lesson plan. Hey, I need you to speak to each other correctly. So I want you to repeat after me how we're gonna say it correctly.
Yep.
So, okay, so I appreciate that.
Because I wouldn't even say correct. I wouldn't even say correctly.
Okay, tell me what I'm gonna change it.
Yeah, because correctly actually implies that is the right way. And if you think about like
appropriately or in this context, tell me what should I change?
Situationally appropriate or appropriate for this context, you know, because if you think about the way it's English, the English think we're using a bastardized form of English.
Yes.
But for us, it's standard. So everything is relative, you know?
This is true. I like that. You just mind shifts are always happening. I just did that. All right, we're gonna wrap up. This is the way we wrap up here. I do 2 things. One, you get to shout out your D9 anyway you want to, and then you need to tell us how we can connect with you on social media.
All right. Well, I would just say to the brothers of KA Psi, to the brothers of Phi Nu Pi, if it feels like a brother, then say it like a brother. Say KA Psi. Yo to the news. And then my social media, Ian P. Buchanan on Facebook, Near Education Group on Instagram, and Dr. Ian P. Buchanan on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite. Twitter, I'm on Twitter as well.
Okay.
But I'm not as active as I probably should be. And that's one of the parts of entrepreneurship that I'm still getting better at, is developing a social media presence. And that's part of the technical aspects of business that I'm still learning. So, yeah.
And it's a learning process. But I think anyone out there who's a social media guru,
yeah,
this is how you come on and you get your little gig, a little side gig, help us entrepreneurs out. We're
that
still
is really
learning
true.
that part. And so
because that is a place where I can need some support, is helping to build out my marketing and social media presence. I will say this, I do have a book coming out in about a month or so. It's called King, and it's a 4-part leadership approach for Black and brown male leaders. King is know the king within. I means inspire greatness in others for collective impact. N is navigate to the north. That means have a North Star, have a value, have a moral compass. And G is gravitate to the great. So surround yourself around people who can sharpen your steel and whose steel you can sharpen. And so I'm excited about the book. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
So then we know, you have to come back, because we do bring authors back on. If you tell me you have a book, awesome. I have a sister coming on now. She and her husband did a book together. And I was like, well, bring him back. He came already, but you can bring him back with you this time to talk about their book on the podcast. That's important.
Yep.
I'm an English teacher. I don't care what kind of book. If it's uplifting, if it's about us, that sounds like it's going to be great. So let us know. I'm going to get some more information, put it in our show notes so people can start pre-ordering if we can.
Absolutely. Yep.
And start getting that ready so we can read it, and you can come back and talk to us and let us know if you're doing like a book study or a webinar, so we can join and support, because that's what we're about. And because I'm a good old Baptist girl and you're the guest pastor,
yes,
you can't open the doors of the church, because we ain't talk about that. You don't call anybody up to the front. Do not open the doors of the church. But what I do want you to do is close us out here, the Education Concierge Podcast, anyway you feel fit. Oh, no, wait. I forgot to ask you the question of the day. I'm so sorry. Okay, so a concierge is a person that when you would go to the hotel back in the day, you would come in and you and your wife on your anniversary trip, you done left the kids at the house, and you're like, look, we want to get to this spa. We want to go to this 5-star Michelin restaurant.
Yep.
We want to do all of these things. And the concierge hooks you up. So I want you to think about a place, production, restaurant that you would go to. And I always say now, pre-COVID. So before all of the restrictions, before any of the testing or the vaccinations we need to have to travel now, where would you go and why?
I would probably go to Jamaica, just because of the water and because of the humanity of the people. And then in Jamaica, what I would love to do is, now this would be really cool, to have a concert. And who will be this would be a small intimate concert. It will be Nas, Jay-Z, and J. Cole.
In Jamaica, you and your wife, private concert. I just would like to be there to pass drinks. Just, what is it that y'all need? I love that. Okay, so but why those three?
Because I feel like they are sort of like vanguards of hip hop culture. And I think that we can see their evolution, and we understand the problematic elements about who we are and our culture, but we also see them struggling, or not struggling, but grappling with vulnerabilities. When Jay-Z, 444, I mean, that's all talking about vulnerabilities. Yeah. And the fact that Nas and Jay-Z, they could kind of get rid of those egos and come together. And then the fact that they are visionaries in terms of being entrepreneurs, but also about that Black life.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm trying to become an art collector. And so I'm really trying to learn from people who are really like good. And I know Jay-Z and Nas are both art collectors. So somebody bought a Basquiat painting for like $19,000. And they put their money together. This was a family in 1984. They sold it a couple of years ago for $110 million.
So everybody out there, we're gonna buy some land and we're buying some art. Okay. We're gonna put our
A
money together.
$19,000 investment got you 110 million, not thousand, 110,000, 110 million dollars.
Oh my, and it goes back to what you said in the beginning. Well, if we come together and support each other and help each other, we are all gonna grow and benefit.